I'm Wendy Carter again, Vice President of BSCAA. I'm here to introduce Lauren Anderson. She's an assistant professor of education at the University of Southern California, where she teaches master's and doctoral students. She's also a visiting faculty member in Connecticut College's Education Department. She's a former upper elementary teacher and support provider for K-6 public school teachers. Lauren has lived, worked, and conducted research in the country's 3 largest urban school districts, New York City, Chicago, and LA. Now she's up in New Haven and in that surrounding area and doing what she brought to those big cities on a smaller scale, and I think at a level where she's finding that she can do the work and see the results. It's more palpable for her, as she told me earlier today. Lauren's research collaborations focus on the preparation and early career experiences of equity-minded teachers and principals. She has written for a number of educational journals and has co-authored the books Teaching to Change the World, with Jeannie Oakes, Martin Lipton, and Jamie Stillman, and also another book, Making a Difference, Developing Meaningful Careers in Education, with Karen Hunter Quartz, Brad Olson, and Kimberly Barasa Lyons. Lauren, as a member of BSCAA, I am so proud that you are one of us. She's a 2002 graduate from that old program that many of us came out of. I came out of it too. Early childhood and elementary, N through 6. It's a gem. I could auction it off today for a lot of money. Without further ado, Lauren, come on up here.
Hi, everyone. Oop, can you hear me well enough? Okay, good. I have a big teacher voice. So first, let me start off by saying that it is such an honor to receive an award from Bank Street, a place that I, like so many graduates, carry with me wherever I am across the country and the world, as a reminder of the kind of learning experiences to which every child and every teacher should have access. I'm doubly honored to be in the company of the other awardees. People often quote Martin Luther King Jr. for having stated so eloquently that the arc of the moral universe is long and that it bends towards justice. Well, if it does, jury might be out on that. I'm a big believer that teachers are those important folks doing a lot of the work bending it away from what is and toward what ought to be, fueled by a deep sense of moral outrage about social inequality, economic exploitation, and the enormous educational debt that this country still owes to so many of its people. Indeed, the arc of our moral universe often feels more than just a bit bent out of shape. Sometimes it seems there's so much bending towards justice that needs to happen. And we are in a peculiar and perilous historical moment in working to bend educational policies and practices in the direction of or in the service of justice, and thus away from standardization and privatization. We find ourselves having to push back against the assaults of an administration that is wielding this very same rhetoric about the arc of the moral universe and about justice, while setting federal education policies and supporting state and local reforms that fly in the face of our shared beliefs and our knowledge about what counts as good education. These include rampant standardized testing that undermines the health, learning, and general well-being of our young people, evaluation systems that advance a reductive, technocratic vision of good teaching, high-stakes accountability schemes that punish public schools and privilege their new competitors, and so on. For anyone who believes, as John Dewey did, in the inherent value of public education, in public education as a public good, these are trying times. At the same time, there is so much hope and inspiration to draw upon. It's all around us in big and small acts of resistance. We have parents nationwide organizing one another to opt out of ineffective and increasingly excessive standardized testing. We have teachers in Seattle who banded together with allies, including their students, and refused to administer the measures of academic progress, online tests, which were being administered 6 times a year in addition to the state tests in Seattle, and which were helping to generate almost no actionable insight for teachers, but for their producer, $84 million in revenue last year alone. Not only were Seattle teachers not punished, largely because they acted in unison and with others, but their unified stand led to the announcement last week that Seattle high schools would no longer have to administer these tests. Yeah, woo! Seattle! Okay. So this is a huge success, and it's really the first of its kind. And just across the street, actually, we have Teachers College students and faculty bravely speaking out against President Furman's role on the board of directors of the Pearson Corporation. Freudian slip on that one. And against the school's decision to give an honorary award to New York State Chancellor Merrill Tisch, who has been instrumental in pushing through deeply troubling policies that have undermined university-based teacher education, enabled companies to collect and sell private data on K-12 students in the state of New York, and that have required every district statewide to tie teacher evaluation to value-added test scores. So what does this have to do with Bank Street? Everything. First and foremost, I'm proud to be standing here as a graduate of this institution and not somewhere else. And so I want to just take a minute or two to talk concretely about the value that Bank Street has added and continues to add to my life and my work. Years ago, I read the first edition of the book Teaching to Change the World in Bernadette Anand's class, and I was lit on fire, and I was really inspired by Bernadette, who helped me take the ideas in that book and apply them as a teacher researcher in my own school. And I am proud to say that I served as the co-author of the most recent edition, and I can trace the seeds of that accomplishment back to Bernadette, very much so, and all the things that came in between as well. I think about her all the time, and I try desperately to emulate her in all I do. That brings me to Diana Elena Matsoukas, who I won't say much about, except she was tough. And in the very best way. She really did not let me off easy on anything, and I loved her for it. I think about her all the time. She had a number of really hard conversations with me, showed me things I couldn't see about myself, told me things I didn't want to hear. I didn't have the words to explain it until I read Antonia Darder's Teaching as an Act of Love, and I understood what she was doing for me. So I'm forever grateful to her. And also to Barbara Stern, who encouraged me to lead a descriptive review of a child and saw in me some things that I didn't see in myself, and I just owe her a great deal. And so I offer these quick anecdotes just to speak to the enduring value of principled, rigorous in the best and most humane sense of the word, and loving teacher education. They offer a counter-narrative to the kind of value added that is so bandied about these days. What Bernadette and Diana Elena and Barbara contributed could never be quantified. It wouldn't show up in all its richness in my test scores or any of my students. It's not even static. Every now and then I flash back to something, a moment, an exchange, a reading. I see new meaning in it and I apply it forward. Unfortunately, however, with all that's going on around us, this kind of humanizing teacher education and this kind of meaningful learning, the kind that Bank Street stands for, won't survive, at least not as anything more than an island for the privileged, by accident. It will survive only by our activism. And this is why I'm committed to fighting anyone, any policy, anything that tries to reduce Bank Street, its value, or the value of any teacher or child or education so crassly and to such detriment. So I'll just say, looking forward, that I'm hopeful that Bank Street will remain, in the words of Barbara Biber, committed to using our independent learning environments as laboratories for the development of optimal learning settings for children and adults, and as the base for making an impact on the direction of public education. And I'm hoping that Bank Street and its alumni will ask all of us to work hard with you creatively and with urgency on behalf of this worthy commitment. Deepening this commitment in these equally dark and hopeful times. I'm really grateful and I'm proud to feel so well prepared theoretically and practically to do this work with you. Thank you to the Alumni Association for this award.
I am now presenting you the Lauren N. Anderson, the BSCAA Award.